One of the biggest sporting scandals in UK history. Rangers Football Club faces potential liquidation if it loses a tax case. The decision's due any day now. This programme has been investigating the club's finances. And in tonight's special report, for the first time, we can show the scale of what went on, the range of staff involved, and the size of payments changing hands. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, asks, was it all legal and fair? Or was it a tax-saving scheme for highly paid executives and players?
Arguably the biggest club in Scotland with a global fan base, Rangers Football Club stands at the edge of a precipice. If they lose an appeal in a tax case, they face a bill of almost £50 million and possible liquidation.
We are the people!
It all comes down to how Rangers paid people, including players and directors, when Sir David Murray owned the club for 23 years until 2 years ago. His company, MIH, set up an Employee Benefit Trust, or EBT. Tax experts say there used to be several benefits to these trusts.
The tax benefit is that the company is able to remunerate or benefit its employees without incurring employers' national insurance contributions, so effectively a 13% saving. And the individual, if he's in receipt of a loan, is able to receive cash advances, if you like, subject to nominal tax exposure.
Whereas most of us get paid by our employers and obviously pay income tax on that, an EBT allows a high earner to be paid instead via an offshore trust by means of a long-term loan, often with little or no income tax at all. Now, Rangers paid almost £50 million into their trusts, and tonight we can reveal that not a single one of those loans has ever been repaid, even though some of them are more than 10 years old. This week, Mike McGill, Finance Director for MIH, emailed Channel 4 News to say,
"I do not believe that any loans have as yet been repaid."
When we asked when or if these loans would ever be repaid, he emailed back,
"We do not consider it appropriate to make any further comment at this juncture."
For the first time tonight, this programme can take you inside Rangers during the period under investigation by the taxman. That's the first few years of this century. And documents which we've seen from Rangers reveal the extent of the club's use of these trusts. Now, a tax tribunal will rule shortly after Easter whether their use was legitimate or not. The journey starts with a colourful character who set up the payment scheme for Sir David Murray's MIH company, which owned Rangers. An interesting choice. Paul Baxendale Walker has since been struck off as a solicitor and now divides his time between giving tax advice and running an adult entertainment business.
Do I pay tax? Well, I actually, that's another issue.
His promotional video points to both worlds.
Paul.
Oh, hello.
I really need some help with my tax.
Paul Baxendale Walker took the trust idea to Sir David Murray's company MIH, and they took it to Rangers.
Somebody obviously advised Rangers on the constitution of this Employee Benefits Trust. And what that somebody would have done is referred to my book, or at least referred to the principles in it. And then Rangers, as a company, went and did something else, which is why there's a tax case.
And the Rangers tax case looks closely at whether the EBTs were really being used to pay contractual money like wages through a fund actually designed for low-tax discretionary payments. Sir David Murray declines to speak to Channel 4 News, but we can now lift the lid a little on what was happening in his club and why the taxman's so interested in Rangers. Tonight, we disclose that the former chief executive of Rangers, Martin Bain, was offered £100,000 in bonus from the trust in 2005. We've seen a document which says,
"Please pay Martin Bain £100,000 through the Remuneration Trust in respect of his bonus for the financial year to 30th of June 2005.
Not only that, just a month later, in July 2005, another document. Martin Bain requests from the Murray Group Management Trust in Jersey a further loan of £100,000
as soon as possible for the purposes of investment.
In what could be a key document in the tax dispute, Martin Bain, when a director of Rangers, writes to the chairman, John McClelland, on December the 18th, 2003. It's strongly worded. He asks that his pay rise be paid through the club's trust. In his letter, Martin Bain says it was suggested to him that
any pay rise I got should be paid through the trust, obviously, as a discretionary bonus, as it cannot be contractual.
A suggestion which would have made a big reduction in his tax bill. Although he couldn't comment on Rangers, an expert told us
if there are contractual provisions that entitle an individual to receive a bonus, or there is a tacit understanding between the parties that what would otherwise be paid as employment income will be paid as a contribution to an EBT, I think in those circumstances it's very likely that the revenue would consider that those payments to be employment income and taxable.
But this wasn't just about Martin Bain. He was just one of many, as he himself says.
My increase was to be non-contractual, put through as a discretionary bonus, as I do with players, coaches, and more recently John Gregg.
Far from just being Martin Bain, it was Rangers players, Rangers coaches, and Rangers legend John Gregg. It simply indicates how widespread the trust was across Rangers. And there is more information which emerges in this letter as Martin Bain writes to the then Rangers chairman, John McClelland. He says that a contractual letter from John McClelland to him must be destroyed, shredded by a female colleague. What's emerging is that the contractual payments on the one hand and the trust payments on the other must be kept separate. Martin Bain wrote,
"At the end of the meeting, I gave her back the letter addressed to me from you that stated my contractual increase for her to shred."
This could be perfectly legitimate, but it's questions like these upon which the tax case may well hinge. We approached Martin Bain, but he is yet to respond. Be in no doubt at all, this is not just about Rangers, but other football clubs as well. There is something of a precedent here, and if the taxman wins on this one, they will assuredly go knocking with renewed vigour on the doors of other football clubs, north and south of the border. Rangers' legions of fans want answers. For the taxman, this is about a test case. For Rangers, it could be about the club's very survival. Some fans might find that a high price for attempting to make tax savings at their football club. Alex Thompson, Channel 4 News, Glasgow.
2 men have been convicted of conspiring to assault the Celtic manager Neil Lennon and others in a parcel bomb plot. Trevor Muirhead and Neil Mackenzie were caught on CCTV buying components for packages which they sent to a former Scottish MSP, a senior Scottish lawyer and the former footballer in March and April of 2011. They'll be sentenced on the 27th of April.